Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay, let's do it. Bill Martinez Live, a program about current events, our culture, our values, our politics, and our future. And now, Bill Martinez.
We better stop. Hey, what's that sound? Everybody look what's going on. Stop. Hey, what's that sound? Everybody look what's going on.
Well, hello, America. Bill Martinez here, 6 minutes after the top of the hour. As always, you can go to BillMartinezLive.com. Find out how you can connect with any one of the 280-plus affiliates we have around this country or around the world via shortwave. And, of course, if you want to get involved in the conversation, we encourage that because your opinion does count. And you can even drop me an email, bill@BillMartinezLive.com. Former DHS Targeting Center's Phil Haney, who is featured in Enemies Within, which we've talked about many times with Trevor Loudon, has an amazing tell-all account of how the Obama administration ordered his list of terrorist names to be wiped clean from our intelligence databases. Now, when recently retired DHS frontline officer and intelligence expert Phil bravely tried to say something about the people and the organizations that threaten the nation, his intelligence information was eliminated, and he was investigated by the very agency assigned to protect the country. I know this sounds like one of those bizarre kind of tales, but you got to hear it from Phil Haney himself. Phil, welcome to Bill Martinez Live. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Appreciate the opportunity.
Well, good to have you here. Your book, See Something, Say Something, kind of outlines, what basically happened to you, doesn't it?
Well, I saw something. I took a vow to help protect our country from threat, both foreign and domestic, and I said something. I found out, according to them, I shouldn't have. They thought I should say nothing. Mm-hmm. And that's why we call it See Something, Say Nothing. I've been thinking a lot about the swamp lately. The swamp keeps coming up in the public arena. Mm-hmm. I'd like to tell Mr. Trump that I know where the valves are, and I can help him drain the swamp. And guess what we're going to find down there on the bottom of that nasty swamp? All the evidence of the things that we're talking about today. Like they drove out there in the middle of the night and dropped this stuff overboard, never really expecting that it would ever come to light again. But we might have the opportunity, once that water is drained out, to go in and dig up all that evidence, kind of clean it off like an archaeology project, like the buried treasure, and see what's there, because it is there.
Well, Phil, I've maintained, Phil, that I just, as a sense, don't ask me how I know it, but I just sense that with the close of this administration, we're going to have an opportunity to really drain the swamp. And, to deal with some issues. If this country truly is going to get forward, it's got to let go of all the false and prevailing stories that are out there that are so untrue, that have been rather cumbersome to the progressive, direction. And I don't mean progressive in the terms that some people mean progressive. I mean progress, moving forward. I don't mean the way that it's been hijacked, that term. But if we're going to move forward and get this country back on track and to be great again, we've got to deal with the horrendous lies that have, inculcated the woof and woof of our very soul.
Well, you're right. To me, it's quite a bit like recovering from an addiction.
Yes.
If you're not able to at least recognize that you have at minimum 1% responsibility in that addiction, you're never going to get free from it. Mm. But as soon as you say, I can take one step forward, I can play at least a small role in acknowledging and recognizing that I do have an addictive problem, then you start to be free from it.
Exactly.
And a lot of what I've seen going on with all the uproar is like an addict screaming for the next fix.
Right. Is the country ready for the truth, Phil?
It's going to be tough, friend. People are going to be really, really disgusted when they see what really is down there on the bottom of the swamp. There's going to be some nasty stuff that's going to be dug up. If, in fact, we actually are able to drain the water out. That's just the start.
Right.
Is getting the water out.
Well, we've got to bring the light to the situation. It's been said that that's one of the best cleansers that we have available is the light of day and the light of truth. And it would seem that this country is looking for that. And this is going to be quite upsetting to the status quo that has lived for a long time, for decades, under this shroud of secrecy.
Well, it is true that the truth sets you free.
Right.
And it might not be pleasant, but there's no hope of our country disenthralling himself, to borrow one of Lincoln's phrases, and to recover ourselves if we don't have the courage to face the things that have been done in the name by elected officials who have abrogated their constitutional duties and put us, contrary to what outgoing President Obama said, at much greater risk.
Exactly.
And we have to address the nature of the threat we face, just like if you happen to be diagnosed with the disease, and then develop your approach based on what the truth is, not on a false narrative, because that won't help us.
Exactly. Well, in See Something, Say Something, you and your co-author Art Moore, you did your due diligence. I mean, this book is loaded with eyewitness account, supported by internal memos, documents, and exposes a federal government capitulating to an enemy within and punishing those who reject its narrative. I mean, to the point, as Trevor Loudon has pointed out in Enemies Within, in the book, and also in the documentary here, Phil, we've got people that are within the very confines of our government, the leadership of our government, who are card-carrying, antithetical theorists and practitioners that do not believe and will not support our Constitution.
Well, you have two forces, two sometimes cooperative and sometimes competing major forces going on. You have the progressive left trying to alter or abolish this current form of government, ironically what it says in the Declaration, but you also have the Islamic forces that want to alter or abolish this form of government and replace it with Sharia law, which they consider to be the gift of mankind. So in that respect, in terms of wanting to alter or abolish this current form of government, they become natural allies. But ultimately, I mean, it's like the same thing that you're seeing in the Middle East, but now America is unaware of what is happening within their government operations, where you've got these forces, these antithetical forces. Right now, their common enemy happens to be the U.S. Constitution and patriot and God-fearing people. Well, that is the bulwark, the seawall that all these strong waves are crashing against. Is the Constitution. It's not the Republicans. It's not the Democrats, the Independents, or anybody else. It is this force of water crashing itself against the seawall. You know how water is, that will overcome an obstacle, either going under, over, around it, or through it.
Exactly.
And that's what they're trying to do, is crash against the wall, find a weak point, and split it wide open. That's why the anarchists are publicly stating what they say they want to try to do during the inauguration on Friday. They're not even shy about saying it. But that, to me, is part of that addictive behavior. They don't seem to realize that the supplier is gone. They're not going to be able to go down to the corner and buy, their next hit or next fix so easily as they were before.
Right. Well, recently retired DHS frontline officer and intelligence expert Philip Haney is with us. He, along with Art Moore, his co-author, have written the book See Something, Say Something. We've got more from Phil Haney on the other side of the break. Stay with us, America.